Hello, mighty companions. Welcome to A Course in Miracles here on Facebook Live. I'm Earl Purdy, and we're going to continue with talking about what the Course says about free will, what it talks about freedom of the will, and what does that mean? You hear that a lot. Free will, free will. What does it mean from a Course in Miracles standpoint? So we're going to start out with our theme song, which is I'm Not a Victim of the World I See, with Brother John Christmas at johnchristmas.com if you find yourself wanting to get that music. So remember this is a lesson from the Course in Miracles. And here it goes. I'm not a victim of the world I see. I'm not a victim of the world I see. I'm not a victim of the world I see. I'm not a victim of the world I see. I'm not a victim, no, of the world I see. I'm not a victim of my mom. I'm not a victim of my pa. I'm not a victim of even circumstance at all. I'm not a victim. You're not a victim of the world I see. Cause what's happening now is what I done to me. I'm not a victim of the future, not a victim of the past, not a victim of anything that really doesn't last. I'm not a victim of the world I see. Cause what's happening now is what I done to me. Yeah, I'm not a victim of the world I see. I'm not a victim of the world I see. I'm not a victim, no, of the world I see. We're going to be talking about the freedom of the will. What does free will mean? From a Course in Miracles standpoint, how do you use free will? Because we're powerful and we know. Yes, we are. I'm not a victim of the North. I'm not a victim of the South. Not a victim of anything. So what comes out my mouth? I'm not a victim of the world I see. Cause what's happening now is what I done to me. I'm not a victim of the world I see. I'm not a victim of the world I see. I'm not a victim, no, of the world I see. Remember only this. You need not believe the ideas. You need not accept the ideas. You need not even welcome the ideas. Some of the ideas you may actively resist. Some of the ideas. I'm not a victim of the world I see. I'm not a victim of the world I see. Cause what's happening now is what I done to me. Oh yeah. What's happened to me is what I've done to me. Is what's happening to me is what I've done to me. Is what's happening to me is what I've done to me. And what's happening to me is what I've done to me. And what's happening to me is what I've done to me. What's happening to me is what I've done to me. What I'm feeling right now is what I'm choosing to feel. Some of the ideas you may actively resist in A Course in Miracles. Some of the ideas you may find hard to believe. Some of the things I say from A Course in Miracles you may find hard to believe. Some of the things that I say from A Course in Miracles may startle you. And we're not here to judge and analyze the Course in Miracles. That's not the purpose of it. The Course in Miracles says you're not here to judge the ideas at all. If you want to know if it works, if you want to know if the ideas are true, rather than judge the ideas, the Course says, well, why don't you use them? Why don't you do something radical? Why don't you just actually try using them? And it says, well, once you use it, then you'll see that it's true if you use it. But you can analyze it all day. You know what I'm saying? If you got a headache and you need to take an aspirin, you can stand in front of the medicine cabinet all day and analyze it and think about it. But actually, it's not going to do any good till you actually take the medicine. So then you'll see that it works, right? So we think staring at the medicine cabinet is how you become enlightened. And so the truth is saying, nah. First thing you need to recognize is that something that's true is true whether you like it or not, or whether you believe it or not, or no matter what your attitude toward it is. And the next thing he says that you want to do is to realize if you want to get the result that is promising, then you have to do what it's saying. If you want to get the result that is promising, you have to do what it's saying. So we're going to be talking about the freedom of will. And there's one little thing I've been sharing the last few weeks from lesson 284 in the workbook. And it says, this is the truth. At first to be, but say it and repeat it many times. And that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to say it and I'm going to repeat it many times. When you want to accept a new truth, a new idea, you have to hear it. You have to hear it, then you have to repeat it to yourself over and over and over and over again. It would be impossible for you to be in a relationship with someone who is validating and appreciating and recognizing you every day and telling you how much they value you every day and how important you are to them every day. I don't care how much resistance you think you might have. If you hear that every day, sooner or later, you guess what's going to start to happen. You're going to start accepting it as partially true. And then he says you're going to start listening to it and accepting it with some reservations. And then it says, then you're going to start considering what they're saying more and more seriously. And then the Course says next you accept it as true. So when you say you want to learn a new way of looking at things and you want to learn a new way of approaching your life and you're ready and you're tired of suffering and you hear all these ideas, I'm going to tell you right now, hearing it and thinking that you're going to necessarily change your mind if you have a very negative perspective or fearful viewpoint and think just because you hear me say this or you hear the Course say this one time that your whole perception is going to change, I really think you're deceiving yourself. He says, just like you think the way you think now because it has been countlessly repeated to you over and over and over again, the truth also has to be repeated over and over and over again. But since it's the truth, it won't take as long though. It won't take as long to accept the truth because the whole universe is supporting you accepting the truth. So doing the truth is not something that you're doing without support. Now, if you want to just believe what you believe and think what you believe is true, then you're going to have to uphold that on your own. Everybody else might not necessarily agree with it, believe it, or want to support it. So I'll say it again. When you're trying to accept the universal truth, you have the universe spirit totally backing you up and supporting you. When you're just trying to live according to your own personal belief system that you make up as you go along, you're going to have to sustain that on your own, because if it's not in alignment with truth, if it's not in alignment with love, then nothing is going to support it except people of a similar mindset. And if it's not true, then you all just reinforce each other's false beliefs. And we call that society. Okay, code name is culture. Code name is where we think we live right now. Even though we missed the most obvious indication that we're not doing it right, is the misery and fear and chaos and the level of separation and fear that we see going on in the world today. That in itself ought to be enough to let us know that we're not seeing it correctly and we're not doing it correctly. That in itself should be enough, but not for ego human being minds. That's not enough, because with human ego being minds, they tend to want to be right more than they want to be happy. So therefore, human minds tend not to get off their position even when it's not working for them. And human minds have a tendency to project onto everybody else and want everybody else to change in order for them to be happy. Human minds don't take responsibility for their experience in most cases. So that's why you see so much chaos in the world. We're afraid of each other, we don't know each other, and we've forgotten the truth of who we really are. That's why you see the chaos you see in the world. It's a lack of love, a lack of caring, a lack of reaching out and enjoying it. It's not rocket science. We just don't treat each other right. We just aren't kind to each other. We're not caring about each other enough. It is not rocket science. So then we wait for everybody else to give, and then after they give, then we'll give. It's what many minds think. So what is the Course in Miracles saying? It's saying to us that you got to repeat it over and over and over again, and then you're going to repeat it so many times that you begin to believe it's true. And when you believe it's true and you accept it's true, then you perceive it. Because what you perceive is what you believe. 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 So when you accept a new belief, you will perceive it, and you'll perceive the reflection of it. Your world is a mirror, not a fact. Course in Miracles says perception is a mirror. It's not a fact. All you see is a reflection of your belief. So you cannot use what you perceive to prove that your point of view is correct. What you perceive is just what you believe. There was a time many people thought the world was flat, and they thought you were crazy if you said it wasn't. So just because a lot of people believe something doesn't believe you got to go along with it. You know, there's certain things I don't care how much other people believe. How many people believe them, I'm not going to believe it. I'm not going to change my mind about it. So the Course in Miracles is saying that that's how you change your beliefs. It's not by analyzing. It's by repeating what it is that you want to accept is true, and then taking the time to remember what the truth is teaching you. And so if you want to learn a brand new truth, it says you need to take a certain attitude. And that's why I go through that part in the beginning of the hour where I go through what it says about you don't have to believe it, you don't have to accept it, you don't have to welcome it, because it's easier to accept something new if you believe you don't have to believe it. Because if you believe you don't have to believe it, and nobody is trying to, that's the dumbest thing I could have ever done. If I had set it on top of the house, I still would have found a way to knock it over. That's my thing. I knock over stuff. I can take it and tuck it all the way under there, and somehow or another, before the hour was over, I'd knock it over. You know, it's so funny. I just knock stuff over. It says a Sagittarius thing. So far, it's been true. And since I believe it, I see it. I knocked it over again. Okay. So I'm right. I get a chance to be right. I'm right about being wrong a lot of times. Okay, I love it. I love it. It's things I want to cover. It's like, for me, I've said this often over the years. When the class is ending, I'm just warming up.
Do you want me to help you out?
Okay, thanks.
You got it.
You know, it takes an hour to get the ego out of the way enough to even hear what's being said. Really. So we left off in last episode. We left off last episode, Freedom of the Will, in the Course in Miracles text, the Blue Book, page 629. Page 629. We're in chapter 30, section 2. We're going to be on paragraph 3. Now remember, the name of the game is, it's not about you necessarily understanding. We're at phase 1 where we let ourselves hear what it's saying even if we don't believe it. Everybody clear about that? Mm-hmm. Okay, what we're trying to do right now is let ourselves hear what the Course in Miracles is saying, not necessarily that I'm trying to convince you that it's true. Okay, so what the Course in Miracles says is that basically is that we're suffering from a ridiculous level of amnesia, and we really have forgotten who we really are. And we think we're human beings that are victims of everything around us, other than souls who are having a human experience. Then it says your real self, your true self, which it calls the Christ, your loving self, your real self is total love. Your real self is totally free, totally kind, totally loving, doesn't get angry, and doesn't feel any kind of guilt, and it can't die, and it lives forever, and it's totally abundant, and it's totally joyful. Your real self severely has its act together. Okay, your real self isn't worrying about bills. Your real self isn't worrying about love affairs, your real relationship. Your real self isn't concerned about how your body looks and how somebody else is relating. Your real self does not lose its peace based on nothing that's happening in the world at all, ever, for any reason. So there is no way, according to the Course, you can say you're being your true self and you're worried. When you're worried, you're in your ego. You identifying with the part that does think it's a victim, that does think it's separate, is what the Course in Miracles says. It's not a sin, it's just a misperception of who you think you are. So when it talks about the freedom of the will, in paragraph 3, I love it, it says, do you know the first thing you need to do is look upon your enemy. So if you think you're looking on enemies, or if you think you're looking on the world that it looks like there are people in it that may be your enemy, or it looks like you're in relationships that the other person is upset with you and see you almost like an enemy, the Course in Miracles says we are obeying exactly what we're being told, because the first sentence says, look once again upon your enemy. So if you're looking at people you don't like, you're obeying your spiritual path. Yay! All right. Then it says, this is the one you chose to hate instead of love. So when I say your enemy, I'm talking about anybody that you fear instead of somebody that you love. Someone that you hate more than someone that you love. Hate is a strong word. Hate is just an extreme form of fear. Hate is just a very, very extreme fear. That's all hate is, because everything, according to A Course in Miracles, is what? Love or fear. Everything is love or fear. Then the next sentence says, that's how hatred was born into your world. What? Why is there hatred and fear in my world? Because I chose to feel hatred and fear instead of love. I started to be upset with you. I chose to be upset with you rather than want peace with you. So that's how upset came into my world. Okay? In case you're wondering why upset's in your world, some part of you is choosing to fear rather than to love. Okay, that's why there's upset in your world. What does it say next? And that's how you establish the rulership of fear. So if you ask people, why is fear ruling in your life? They should say, well, I chose to feel fear instead of love, and that brought fear and conflict into my world, and that's why it looks like my world is ruled by fear. My world is ruled by fear because I'm choosing to fear instead of love. I'm choosing to be angry instead of extending love. I'm choosing to attack and get upset and project instead of extending love. Rocket science. Rocket science. Right? Then it says, now there's somebody that wants to speak to you. I have a special guest today. Right now, I want you to hear God speak to you, which is the same as saying, right now, I want you to hear truth and love speak to you. Right now, I'd like for all that is your Creator to speak to you. Special guest. And so the Course in Miracles says, God is going to speak to you through the Spirit's voice and your voice as well. So when someone is speaking to you from love, this is what's going to happen. Spirit is going to use your body to speak to people. Spirit is going to use your body to speak to people. Love, God, the Creator, is going to use your voice one day to speak to people. And do you know that how you can tell when you're listening to the voice for God? How can you tell if you're listening to the voice of love? He says, well, that's going to be a voice that's reminding you of something. So when God is speaking to me through you, you're going to be a truthful, loving voice that's reminding me of something. If you're calling me a stupid, then that doesn't sound like what the voice for love would say to me. Okay? It's just a wild guess. You know, if you're saying I'm the crazy, you hate me, that may not be the voice of God. Okay. Because sometimes people ask me, Earl, how can I tell when I'm listening to the voice of the ego and when I'm listening to the voice for God? Well, easily. One voice is going to be a voice of separation, fear, guilt, anger, and upset. And the other voice is going to be a voice that makes you feel really peaceful and loving and joyful and certain. So if somebody's cussing you out, that's not the Holy Spirit talking to you. It's not love talking to you. And if the religious terminology bothers you, just remember the modern language translation of the Course is love and fear. That's all you have to do. You want to make it modern language? You would simply go, look once again upon the person you fear, the one you chose to fear instead of love. Well, that's how fear came into the world. And that's how the rule of fear is established in your world. Now you need to hear a voice of love speak to you. How can you tell when God is speaking to you? He says, well, the way that you can tell is it's going to remind you that it's not your will to hate, that you don't really want to hate. It's not your will to be a prisoner to fear. It's not your will to be a slave. I love that, a slave to death. Yeah, it is not your will to be a little creature. You don't want to be a little creature with a little life. So this is what the book is saying. Let me tell you what you want, because you don't really know what you want. So let me tell you what you want. What you really want is not to hate. What you really want is not to be afraid all the time. What you really want, ultimately, is not to die. What you really want is not to be just some little creature with a little life. That's not what you want. You don't want fear. You don't want anger. You don't want guilt. You don't want pain. You don't want attack. And the Course in Miracles says, your will has no limit. You have no limits on you. There is no limit to your will. There is no limit to your mind. There's no limit to your will. There's no limit to your mind. There's no limit to your power. There's no limit to your will. There's no limit to your love. There's no limit to what you are. I've studied this book 40 years, so what I'm doing is interchanging Course in Miracles definitions for these terms. That's why I say it that way, so that you'll hear what the Course in Miracles says will means. Your will is unlimited. Your power is unlimited. Your mind is unlimited. What you are is unlimited. You are unlimited. Now, if there's any part of you that's telling you that that's not true, that's not you. See, that's the thing the Course, it took me a while to get what the Course was saying. Every time you hear any negative thought that you're saying to yourself, that's not you. That's the voice you made up that's talking to you. That's the concept that you have of yourself that's talking to you. People all the time are having a conversation with themselves, and they call it the guidance of God. They make up what they think they want, then they say God wants them to have it. That's the way it works. First I decide I know what I think is my own best interest, and then I decide how it's going to happen and who's going to do it, and then I ask God what to do. I make all my decisions first, and then I ask Spirit what to do. I treat Spirit like it's a genie. Yeah, that all I need to do is like rub its belly and it'll give me the house. And if it gives me the house, then I'm really spiritual and God is really real. So we really have a very childish perception of God. We're just like little kids who ask for stuff for Christmas, right? And then Santa Claus brings it to us. That's what most people believe in my perception of Santa Claus God, if they believe in one at all. They think that the purpose of God is to fulfill their dreams. Even if your dream could kill you. Even if I want the worst person I could have ever chosen to be my girlfriend or boyfriend, who is the worst person I could be in a relationship with, God is listening to me if God brings them to me when I ask for them. Because I've decided this is the person that's going to make me happy. So now God's job is to do it the way I want it done. Okay. And that's what Course says what happens. He says that you tell yourself what you want, then you tell yourself there's a way for you to have it just like you want it if you don't make any decisions without your higher self, if you don't make any decisions without God. He said you can have the kind of day you want. And he says, but the problem is the once you decide how the day you want is what that's going to be, he says, then you turn around and make up how you think that's supposed to happen. And then once you make up your own plan about how your happiness is supposed to happen, then if your higher self gives you the real plan, he says, then you're going to get angry and upset and you're going to resist it and oppose it because you've already decided how your good is supposed to come. So when you get the real lesson, you just feel upset. And then he says, well, the next thing you do is try to remember that you are not supposed to make this decision without your higher power. And he says, at least you can say to yourself, at least I don't like what I'm feeling right now, so I hope I'm wrong. So he says, every time you're upset, say, at least I can decide I don't like how I'm feeling, so I hope I'm wrong. He said, one of the way that you get past negative feelings is you don't want to be right about what you're telling yourself is causing them. The way that you get rid of fear is you don't want to be right about what you're telling yourself is causing it, right? And you can be rest assured if you are saying that your upset is about something that someone else is not doing or something that's going on outside of yourself, then you can safely assume that you're never upset for the reason you think. Because if I think I'm upset because of what you are doing, and it isn't what you are doing that's making me upset, it's what I'm telling myself about what you are doing that's making me upset, then I'm not upset for the reason I think, because I think I'm upset because of what you're doing. But I'm not upset because of what you're doing. I'm upset because of the meaning that I'm giving to what you're doing. And that's what upsets me. So when the Court says, I'm never upset for the reason I think, it also says the reason why that's true is because you only see the past, which means, he says, you're interpreting what's happening based on your own past experience and your own past learning. And so it's your past learning that's determining how you're feeling about everything. And suppose, I just want to ask you, suppose what you have learned is not correct. Then you're basing all of your decisions on a lie and on a false premise. So the Course is saying to us, first make the decision that your real self got its act together and your real self is total love and total peace. Make that decision, even if you don't see it, even if you don't feel it, even if you don't see it, even if you don't feel it, even if you don't see it. I don't care about your yes buts. I don't care about your yes buts. I don't care about your yes buts, yes but, yes but, yes but. I'm just telling you, gravity exists. It's going to exist no matter what mood you wake up in the morning. It could care less about how you feel about it, and the truth feels that way about what you believe about the truth, which is the same as me saying you are a whole and perfect and beautiful being, and that's that, and I don't want to hear nothing else about it.
Yeah. All right. Cool.
All right, I don't want to hear nothing you're going to tell me about why you're not this wonderful, incredible, powerful being that this book is describing. That's your ego. Your ego is your description of yourself, your concept of yourself, and what you're telling yourself about yourself. And the Course of Miracles says, and not only are you making up a concept about you, it says you're making up a concept about me. The Course says we not only make up egos for ourselves, it says you make up an ego for everybody around you, which you call your opinion of your family and your friends. So really, I got an image of you in my mind, and it's my image of the molar that I'm interacting with, especially when I'm thinking about the molar and he's not even there. So if I'm thinking about him and he's not even there, then what I'm telling myself is really what I'm making up about him. And I could say, look like the molar didn't speak to me as much as he usually do last night. I wonder what was going on in his mind. He probably upset about, in your mind, you'll make up a whole story, a whole ego. And then if you go through the story and you go, well, he was cool at the end of the night, did not feel okay about him. I have had a grievance against him, attacked him, and straightened it out without ever saying a word to the molar. That's what the Course of Miracles says. That's what y'all do, but you don't know you're doing it all the time. And you really believe, like people think they actually know me. I think about how many people that I've seen for years, and I've seen them for years, and how little one-on-one personal time I've spent with them, or they spend with me, but I will swear to you I know them, and they will swear to you they know Raj. And the truth is, you don't know anything about me. All you know is what you are, the meaning you're giving to me based on how you're seeing me. That's all any of you are doing, and that's all I'm doing with you. So the Course is saying, so you got your opinion of you, and I have my opinion of me. Okay, that's great. But over here, there is a perfect you.
Always.
And every time you're upset with yourself or somebody else, that's the time that you can safely assume you have forgotten that. So just so that you'll stop fooling yourself. There's no such thing as I am upset and I'm enlightened. You see what I'm saying? The Course says the ego is great at pointing out everybody else's ego, so therefore believing that you've gotten beyond it. Right? I can be in my spiritual self looking at your ego. Right? And the Course of Miracles says, I don't know how to break it to you, Purdy, but you can only see the ego through your ego. So there is nothing you're seeing in anyone else that's not in your own mind. Now notice I didn't say that it's in yourself. I said what you're looking at is in your mind, because we've already established yourself is perfect and has its act together. Right? So the Course in Miracles is saying to us then that when you're using your free will, you're asking that part of you that's perfect to make your decisions. that part of you that has no insecurities, no fears, and no grievance. That perfect self called the Christ self or the truth. He says, what I'm trying to get you to do is to get you to resign as your own teacher. You need to resign as your own teacher. You need to resign. Oh, that sounds like a cult now. Well, look, somebody taught you everything you know. So that means everything has been a cult your whole life. Because you know what most people are rattling off to you? They're just rattling off everything they've been programmed to tell you since they were a kid. Yeah, that's what's so funny. Is that everybody will say to you they know what they're talking about. All they're doing is repeating what somebody else has said to them that they accepted it as true. That's all anybody's doing. You believe 1 and 1 is 2 because that's what you were told. If you had been taught 1 and 1 should be called 3, then you would be saying 1 and 1 is 3 right now. So the Course in Miracles and these truth books are trying to break us out of these spells that we're under right now. We're friggin' hypnotized and programmed robots who've forgotten who we really are. And so the Course in Miracles is saying, first thing I want you to do is understand that if you think you got an enemy in your life right now, it's because you've been choosing to hate and fear instead of expressing true love. The next thing you need to know is that's how the hate and fear came into your life. It came into your life because some part of you is choosing that. Then he goes, you need to hear God speak to you. You need to hear love speak to you, but you need to know what it's going to say. Because if you don't know what it's going to say, you might still listen to the wrong voice. So let me tell you what somebody that loves you and who's letting spirit speak through them. He said the first thing that they're going to do is they're going to remind you. For instance, if my friend is saying, I feel like I'm unworthy, then the voice of the Holy Spirit within me would remind you, no, you are very valuable. You are very worthy. You deserve love. It's okay for you to say you're insecure and you don't like yourself for whatever reason, because I'm not going to try to stop you from expressing yourself, because that's part of the healing. But I also want to, if you're open to it, if you don't mind me saying, would you mind if I said this to you? Because the Course in Miracles has taught me I'm only in my ego when I decide to fix and correct anybody that didn't ask me to. Okay, it says I'm in my ego automatically. Okay, so as soon as I decide I'm going to tell you the way you need to look at it, I can safely assume I'm not listening to God. Because my own advice to myself has screwed me up so many times. How in the world is it to your advantage to give it to you? Right? And I need to give you God's advice. I need to pass on a wisdom greater than my own. But when I sit down and decide, Earl Purdy in his wisdom has decided he's going to help you, that is my ego. Especially, that is the wrong voice I'm listening to. Especially if I didn't stop beforehand and even ask Spirit if I should do anything for you. He says, because the Course in Miracles teaches over and over again that you are not believing anything this is saying until you are stopping and asking your higher power for its guidance. That if you're making decisions without checking in, you're not getting this. You haven't got this yet. You don't know what the spiritual path is about. Spiritual path is not about making you more in charge because you've been the one that's been in charge all the time, especially if you haven't been happy. The Course says you never tried to do anything on your own and been successful, and you've never done anything with God that you haven't been successful at. So you know how many of your plans you've been acting out your whole life. 99.9. 99.9. If you be honest with yourself, because nothing's going to punish you for admitting you've been making a mistake. That's the old thought system that says you're going to be punished for making a mistake. So it's okay for us to admit that we can have erroneous thinking. It's okay. The word wrong is not a crime. It's not a bad word. Wrong is not a bad word. I wonder when that happened. I wonder when the word wrong became negative. I've noticed that a lot in New Thought community, that if you say the word wrong, everybody pounces on you and tell you how everything is right. If you told me the wrong way for me to get to the kitchen in Unity Temple is to go out the front door, that's going to save me a lot of time. That's not negative. That's going to say, because I know to go that way. Wrong is not a bad word. Wrong is not a bad word. So if your relationships are never satisfying, it would be great if you told yourself, you must have the wrong perception of relationships. That would be much more helpful than anything you could tell yourself if you had a string of bad relationships. Because first of all, your mind has already been programmed not to want to be wrong. Have you noticed that there's a part of us that doesn't want to be wrong? right? So actually the advantage of calling something wrong is this. Would you like to know what it is? The advantage of calling something wrong is it taps into the programming that you already have, which makes you not want to do what's wrong. And you automatically want to correct that issue a lot faster. Your mind will want to correct it. If you tell your mind it's wrong for me to perceive myself as in lack, then the part of your mind that doesn't want to be wrong will want to do what? Get rid of the perception of lack. So wrong is really what speeds you along, especially if you're a person who's felt like you've been wrong more than you've been right all your life. Then the course is so brilliant, it goes, well, let me show you how to use the way your mind is already programmed to free you. I'm going to show you all how to use your mind, as twisted as it may be in some areas. I'm going to show you, he says, I'm going to show you how to use every programming and conditioning of your mind to benefit you. Are you willing? Because that's so much easier that you're going to have resistance. He says, we're afraid not to be, he said, the course says, we're afraid not to be bogged down. We're afraid not to have problems. So then it goes on to say, a voice that loves you is going to remind you, I'm going to say, hey, brother, guess what? I know you don't really want to hate and fear. I know you don't want to be a slave to death, and I'm never going to let you think you're a little creature with a little life. That's what love would say. That's what the Holy Spirit would say. I would say to you, do you know what, man? You are unlimited, and you don't really want to be bound. You don't really want to be limited, because what lies in you is joined with the whole creation of God. What's inside of you, brother, is joined with God in the birth of all creation. And go get me a donut. See, I didn't hear that. That was so cool. A part of me tuned that totally out. What am I supposed to do when you're in hate and fear and upset? I'm here to be the voice for God, the ambassador for truth. I'm going to remind you that you don't deserve to be afraid. I'm going to remind you that you're not a little creature with a little life. I'm going to remind you that you're unlimited and that your will is as boundless as God. In other words, I'm going to remind your butt of how awesome you are. That's a holy relationship. A holy relationship is, don't make the idea from A Course in Miracles of a holy relationship a complicated thing. A holy relationship is simply a relationship where the two of you are constantly reminding each other of your value and of the beauty and the truth of each other. That's it. It's up to you whether you decide if it's a romantic relationship. It's okay for you to decide whether you want it to be monogamous, polyamorous, Plucus, or whatever kind of thing that anybody else comes up with to define the relationship. That's up to you, as long as y'all treating each other right. That's the part of the relationship that's holy. If you're being peaceful and loving and supportive, forget the form you come up with. Who cares? Who cares what form you come up with for how you want to do your relationship? You do it in the way you want to. You make it whatever agreements and rules you want to. Don't let society tell you how your love life should go and what you should do. You know it's up to you, because if you didn't have a choice, then you wouldn't have a choice but to deal with it one way. But the mere fact that you can choose what kind of relationships that you can want to have shows you that's up to you personally. Because something that must happen, you don't have any choice about it. Gravity must happen at this level of consciousness. You can't decide otherwise. So anything you can decide and make different, then you know it's just your personal choice. It's just all you're doing, your personal choice of how you want to do a relationship. But when you don't love yourself and you don't think you deserve a relationship, if you're afraid of monogamy, then you're going to want to form a relationship with somebody that doesn't want monogamy. That's how you can tell you're afraid of it yourself, even though you're saying you want it. Why you always ended up with people that cheat on you? Right? Just think about it. That's what the Course is saying. When you're afraid of what you want, you always try to get it where it's not located for you. So if I'm afraid of a relationship, of course I'm going to keep choosing people that are not going to be in a relationship with me peacefully and they value me. Because if they valued me, I'd have to show up. Yeah, I'd have to actually be there. I'd have to actually, but as long as I can keep saying I want one, but it's never showing up, then I can keep on telling myself I'm this great conscious person that's worked through all their issues. Right? So the Course is saying there is a real you that does know how to do relationship, knows how to do perfect relationships, totally loving, because it is the part of you that is divine. It's over here. You are not identifying with it. As a matter of fact, you are hiding that self from yourself. And so we got to teach you how to remember yourself again. And that's the spiritual path. But it also says, but I'm going to tell you something. I'm going to tell you what's going to happen. Okay, your concept of yourself, your old self, your ego, who you think you are, who you've been programmed with, that you with that social security number, that you with that driver's license, it's going to do everything in its power to keep you from knowing your true, real self. And so I'm going to tell you that right now. As soon as you say you want to wake up and you want to be kinder and you want to be more loving, the part of you that ain't that way is going to do everything in its power to prove to you that loving self that I just told you about is not you, baby. That good person isn't you, baby. You remember what you did last year? You know what you did prom night? You know what I'm saying? It's gonna come up with all these reasons why you couldn't be this awesome divine being. It's going to attract to you a person in your life maybe that tells you and reflects that you're not this awesome being. So you get in some type of crappy relationship that you're always unhappy in. That's you trying to make yourself right about thinking you don't really deserve love because God just told you all you deserve is love, and the part of you that doesn't believe it is trying to prove to you that God is a lie. The truth is a lie. The truth says you deserve to be happy. If I don't love myself, I believe I don't deserve to be happy. If I don't think I deserve to be happy, and I'm going to be right about that, then I got to create drama. So if you're a drama king or queen, you're just trying to convince yourself you are not that unlimited being that I've been telling you about. So the Course in Miracles then says to us, I love this. Check this out. He says, Then the next sentence says, remember him who has created you. So you need to remember love created you. You need to remember that love created you. You need to remember that freedom created you. 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 Abundance created you. Power created you. Power created you. Power created you. Power created you. And through your will, everything is being created. So what does that mean? Everything in your life that is being created in your life is coming from your will. I don't believe that. I don't believe I will for that thing over there that happened to me last week. That's not the truth. It's somebody else's fault. You don't know what the boss did. I'm black. And then the Holy Spirit listens quietly, listens patiently, say, and everything that comes to you comes through your will. Everything that's happening to you, you're creating it. Everything that's happening to you is coming from your power. Everything that's happening to you is coming from your choice. And then your ego, your old self go, no, that's not true. I don't believe that. I don't think that's true. I'm mad about that. What you mean? I'm a victim. You don't know. Hey, I was dropped on my head when I was a baby. You don't know that's why I'm having relationships that don't work today. And then Spirit listens and goes, everything that's happening to you was created by your will. Everything that's happening to you is coming from your mind, your choices, and your consciousness. The truth doesn't change just because of your reaction to it. The truth is not going to change just because you don't agree with me. See, that's what I'm talking about. See, that's when I started to feel secure on the path. When I started to accept what it was saying about there are certain things that are just facts. And it's going to be that way whether you believe it or not, because I had been doing metaphysics for a long time. So therefore, I was very familiar with my thoughts are creative and my beliefs create my reality, right? And so I had taken it too far. And I had taken it to the point that I actually thought my beliefs made reality. I thought because I believed something, that really made it a fact. And so what the Course is trying to get us to understand is, you can relax because whether you believe you deserve love or not, whether you believe you deserve abundance or peace or happiness or not, whether you think you deserve it or not, you do. And there's a part of you that knows you do, and it's going to keep trying to bring to you the things that would make you happy, despite what you might think about yourself from time to time. That's the belief you want to have. Even if beliefs do create my reality, I want to have the belief that even if I'm acting crazy, I could be helped. That's a belief. Even if I'm selfish as hell, somebody could have compassion with me. That's a belief. Why not have those kind of beliefs? No matter how much I forget God and forget the truth, God and truth is going to help me and heal me. That's a belief. That's what the Course in Miracles is trying to do, y'all. It's trying to give you the beliefs that are fail-safe, that'll bring you nothing but peace and joy, regardless how crazy you are. Regardless of how selfish you are, regardless of how insecure you are, regardless of how angry or, you know what I'm saying? This love is going to get to you despite what you think about yourself. And someone that loves you is going to love you beyond your foibles also. But since everybody here is learning how to be that way, good luck. Because just because I'm trying to learn how to give you unconditional love, brother, it don't mean every time you do something I'm going to be okay about it, because I'm a learner. I'm learning how to be unconditionally loving. I'm learning. And since I'm learning, I'm not going to pull it off all the time. You're not going to see there's not a happy Earl all the time. But what studying the course has done is it has allowed me to feel total peace about not always being a happy Earl all the time. Because that's not going to stop God from loving me. That's not going to stop the universe from helping me, no matter what I think about myself. Now, the reason why I'm studying this stuff is so I can bring my perception into alignment with that loving perception, so Earl, who he thinks he is, can have peace. Because I'm not going to have peace until I join with those thoughts. See, I'm going to have peace when I believe that I also deserve to have peace. So my work is to join the crowd. Your work is to learn how to join the crowd of love for you and how awesome you are. And that's what this is talking about right here. This is what this is telling us. It's telling us that, it's telling us that everything that's ever been created is giving you thanks. Everything that the Course in Miracles says, leaves falling from the tree in the fall are the leaves loving you to give you like this carpet underneath your feet to walk on. That waves are bowing down to you. You know, he said, y'all really got a wrong perception of, y'all gods that are run amok. You just forgotten how awesome you are, and you shouldn't be in a relationship with anybody that's not reminding you of that. You shouldn't be in a relationship with anybody that's not reminding you of your value. You should not be in a relationship with anyone that's not reminding you of your value. You should not be in a relationship with anyone that's not reminding you of your value. You should not be in a relationship with anyone that's not, yes, but, those are all excuses to stay in a relationship with somebody that's not valuing you. That's what the yes, but is. Yes, but is you trying to come up with a justification for still staying in something that's not reflecting back to you your value, your will, and your beauty. Okay, I'm gonna stop here, and then we're gonna do a quick little quick recap in just a second. Another little light Earl Purdy talk. So what kind of relationship should you be in? What kind of relationship should you be in? What type of friendship should you have? What types of lovers should you have? What type of acquaintances should you have? The ones that remind you, the ones that remind you, the ones that remind you that you're not a little creature with a little life, the one that reminds you that you are innocent and you deserve to be loved. It's not rocket science. It's not rocket science, people. It's remembering science. It's not rocket science. It's remembering science. Because are you telling yourself this? Are you reminding yourself of this when you're sad and depressed and unhappy? Well, you know you aren't, because if you were, you wouldn't be sad and depressed and unhappy. Those things go together, right? I got happy thoughts, but I want to kill myself. No, that doesn't go together. You know what I'm saying? And the things you get excited about are the things you value the most. Right? So if I'm telling you about how you deserve love and your will is boundless and you're incredible, if that's something you believe about yourself and something you want to believe about yourself, I have your attention riveted. That's how that way you can tell where you are within your own self on your path. Ask yourself this: what do I get excited about and what puts me to sleep? What puts me to sleep is what I don't want to hear. And what I get excited about is what I do want to hear. So if the truth puts you to sleep, if it knocks you out, there's a part yet that still doesn't really want to hear it yet. Because it's easier not to hear something when you sleep. But actually, that's when it can go in the most, in a way, is because it's only you that's in the way anyway. So now you're gone. So the Holy Spirit says, so Earl, when you're really successful as a teacher, your whole class gonna be asleep in front of you. That's when I know y'all really let me give it to you. You take your egos totally out, completely. So, if you'd like to make a financial expression of appreciation, I would truly appreciate that. And so you can do that by going to Venmo. You can use Venmo, you can use the Cash App, you can use Zelle, and you can use PayPal. All you need is my email address. My email address is earlpurdy@earlpurdy.com. earlpurdy@earlpurdy.com. That's Purdy. Thank you so much, 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 thank you so much. You can also go to my website. There's a donation link there also. I'm available for people who are ready to really, really get rid of their blocks, and you're very serious and you're sincere, and you finally reached your limit. You finally reached your limit, and you want to take advantage of 41 years of studying and teaching the Course in Miracles. I started studying the Course in Miracles November 5th, 1980.
Ooh, wow.
And
4 years old.
it was, I read the entire text before the first of the year. I couldn't put it down. The point that I'm telling you is I'm not so stupid as to be still following something 34 years later that doesn't work. Okay, just give me that much sense, that much intelligence. And the same thing about astrology and numerology. Give me enough sense, and then, just give me a break in your own mind that I wouldn't have done something for 45 years that I saw no benefit in, or it didn't work and I hadn't seen it work in other people's lives. So it's just think about that just for a minute. So the services that I offer, my clarity session, there is a lot of experience behind the sessions that we would have with each other. So if you want counseling, mentoring, coaching, you just absolutely sick and tired of being sick and tired, and you want to see how you can use these principles in your day-to-day life, have a clarity session with me. Go to my website, earlpurdy.com, look at the clarity session section, and click on that tab, and it will give you all the details, and also you can self-book an appointment with me right there online. So I love to get deeper. I love to do one-on-ones with people who really want to use the Course and the truth, and everything that can help them, they're open to it. Okay? The Course in Miracles says every one of your problems have already been solved. All your problems have already been solved. All your problems have already been solved. You just haven't heard the answer. I'll say that again. All your problems have already been solved. There's an answer to every problem you think you have. There's an answer to any problem that you think you have. So it's already been solved. You just haven't heard the answer yet. Y'all follow what I'm saying? It's like I'm telling, like this book is telling us the answers over and over and over again. And other truth books that you study are telling you the answer over and over and over again. But you haven't heard the answer yet. How do you know you haven't heard it yet? Because you still go through fear, and you still give yourself conflict and anger and guilt and grievances. So you haven't really heard the answer. He says, the Course says something radical like, if something is really healed, then you don't have to heal it more than once. That if you had a real healing, why are you needing to get it healed again next week? If the flu has really been healed, there wouldn't be any flu shots every year, because there wouldn't be any flu. So he says, so if something's really resolved, then it's done. And so you don't have to do it over and 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 over. And so
I'm trying to send that to you, but I didn't want to do it in class.
Well, in just a minute I'll be finished and you'll get a chance.
And they'll send it.
Yeah. So, do you follow what I'm saying? So the Course is saying a real answer answers things for all times. And until you have had that happen, you haven't really discovered the real answer yet. If you're cured of something, you don't have to go back next year to get cured of that same thing over and over and over again. And so that's what the Course is saying to you. There's a part of you that is cured. There's a part of you that is whole. And you want that same part of you to start making your decisions, to start making your choices, to start drawing the stuff that not you, not the one that's insecure, the one that's afraid, the one that's doubting, the one that's not knowing what's going on and trying to figure everything out. It's saying to you, it is not your will to let that part of you be in charge of your life if you're smart. But since I think I am that little insecure person that's always wondering, it looks like it's talking to me. And it is. It is talking to me. It's saying, Earl, why don't you resign as your own teacher based on the results that you've gotten in your lifetime? Have you ever had anything that's ever satisfied you completely and totally to the point that you weren't always thinking something was missing, that you had to always have more? Have you ever been any type of permanently satisfied and happy before 2 weeks later you got the next thing you're coming up with? And don't fall for your ego's trick of making you think that unless you're doing that, you're not truly ambitious and you're just stagnating. You are not being stagnant because you allow yourself to appreciate the blessings in your life that you already have, and then see those blessings extend and expand. So you'll hardly be stagnant. You'll be expanding. But you need to start going, I'm thankful for what I've already received. What can I give gratitude to that's already there? Because if I can remind the people in my life that's already there that they are not little creatures with little lives, then I am convincing myself that I'm not a little creature with a little life too. You see what I'm saying? So Sundays at 1 p.m. Mountain Time on Facebook Live on the Earl Purdy page. I do A Course in Miracles in front of a mostly alive group. Okay. And out there, I'm doing it in front of mostly alive people on Sundays too, you know. And so that's the Earl Purdy page on Facebook, 1 p.m. Mountain Time on Sundays. And then I do another one on Thursdays at 7 p.m. Mountain Time on the Earl Purdy page on Facebook. And it's what I call Hardcore Course in Miracles. Hardcore. Hardcore means it's a class that's especially geared toward people who see themselves as sincere, serious Course in Miracles students. And they want to work with somebody who's been doing it for 41 years, who loves it just as much as they do, if not more. So that's a class I do for people who are not on the line because they're trying to decide whether or not they want to do this. It's for those who've already made that decision and they want to get more support and more understanding. That's fun for me. So, but anybody can watch it at any time. But I just want you to know that that's what Thursday night's class is geared toward. It's for Course in Miracles students who resonate to me, who resonate to me, who resonate. Resonate. Oh, that's a new one, ain't it? Would you be my resonate?
You give me my mating resume.
You give me your mating resume.
Should be asking about
Hey, the table's right over here. Leave your mating resume right here at the end of the class. All right. That was my wheel. That's my free will. Okay, here we go, y'all. All you have to remember is one thing. All you have to do is remember one thing. Did you know that you only have to remember one thing, one thing, one thing, one thing, one thing. Look upon again the person that you thought was your enemy, the one you chose to hate instead of love. That's how hatred was born into the world. How was that fear born into the world? You gave birth to fear. You gave birth to fear by choosing to love, and by not choosing to love, you gave birth to fear in your world. And that's what caused the rule of fear to be established in your world. But now you're ready to hear the new voice. Now you're ready. Are you ready to hear another voice? Are you ready to hear the loving voice? Are you ready to hear the loving voice? What would the loving voice say to you? What would it speak to you? What would it speak to you? What would it speak to you? It would remind you. It would remind you that it's not your will. It's not your will to hate. It's not your will to be a prisoner to fear. It's not your will to be afraid. You don't want to be afraid. You don't want to feel anger all the time and guilt all the time and doubt all the time. You don't want to feel alone any longer. You don't want to think you're really separate. That's not your will. That's not your will. That's not your will. To have lack is not your will. To have sickness is not your will. You're ready to ask for your will. So who do you need in your life? Who do you need in your life? You need people in your life that will not let you forget who you really are. Did you hear me now? I say you need people in your life that won't let you forget the loving being that you are. Listen to me. You are not a little creature with a little life. You are not a little creature with a little life. You are not a little creature with a little life. You're not a little creature. You're not, even if you do your Halloween thing, you're still not a little creature with a little life. Even if you dress up like one. So you want to remember that your will is boundless. Tell yourself, my will is boundless. My will is boundless. My will is boundless. My will is boundless. You have unlimited power. You have unlimited power. You have unlimited power. Your true will is happiness. What you really will is happiness. What you really will is happiness. So freedom of will means you want to free that will in you that only wants your peace. You want to free that will in you that only wants your safety. Do you want real safety? Where do you go for real safety? Where do you really go for protection? Sometimes you need to ask yourself, where do I go for protection? And I'm not talking about the drugstore. When you ask, where do I go for protection? I'm sorry, I was channeling. I don't know where that came from. Okay, mighty companion. I love y'all. Thank you for showing up. Listen to this at least 4 times, or watch it at least 4 times. And please share this video. Repetition, 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 repetition. That's what you want. Yeah! Yeah! No!
All right. Yeah.
Oh, my best time of the week. Now I go back and take my antidepressants.